Hello everyone, my name is Rachael Carmen. I am a homeschool mother of 7, and I am here to talk to you about two things that you might not think go together: joy and homeschooling. Yeah, I know, I get it. I've been at this for 25 years. We have 7 children. 5 we have graduated from our homeschool. 4 of those 5 have graduated from college. And we still have one. Our youngest daughter will finish out her next 2 years of college, and our 2 youngest sons, 18 and 16, are still at home. We are still gritting it out, determined to finish strong. But I just want to talk to you for a few minutes today. I want to welcome all of my friends who know me, all of you veteran homeschools out there. We've journeyed together for a long time. I've missed you this year at conferences. But I also want to welcome all of those of you who are brand new to this, who are just like, oh my goodness, I never thought I would consider doing this, right? You were forced to maybe at the end of this last school year, and now you're looking ahead, doesn't look so great, and you're thinking, okay, we're going to do this. I want to welcome you, and I want to welcome you as someone who felt the exact same way. Yeah, I know, right? Who would have thought that I, who so articulately made fun of other homeschool families that I knew over 25 years ago, would actually become a homeschool advocate? It seemed like an impossibility, but I'm here to tell you that it has radically changed me for the better, and it has characterized our home, and I believe changed our home for the better. So I just want to welcome you, and I want to invite you to consider the possibilities, because I really believe that God is on the move through this. And I do believe not only can you homeschool well, but you can homeschool with joy. Because here's what I know to be true. You're going to need strength for this journey, and I know the one who can give it to you. Today, I want to talk to you about the fact that homeschooling is not just for superhuman people who have an extraordinary amount of patience and who are incredibly organized. Look, I would not qualify for either of those categories. It's not about that. And I want to tell you something else. When I first started home educating, I thought it was going to be sort of like a game that I could figure out. It was going to be this mystery or this puzzle that if I could just figure it out, then I would just hit a magic button and we could just go along. I'm going to tell you today something maybe you don't want to hear, but I think there's a lot of freedom in it. This is a journey. It's not about figuring it out, but it is about learning about the one who is able. It's about learning and leaning into the one who is infinitely patient and the one who put the planets in order, the one who has all of the patience possible and who knows what it means to order things. He is the one that you need for this journey, and he's the one I want to talk to you about today. I really believe that the determining factor in joy in your homeschool is how well do you know the God of the universe? Knowing him makes all the difference in this journey that you're taking. I know, I get it. You may not want to do this. You may be forced. You may be ticked that you have to do this. I get it. Some of you are discovering maybe curriculum and agenda issues at your schools that you were completely unaware of. Some of you are discovering the inordinate wasted time. Some of you are discovering that, hey, you really enjoy the time with your kids. Some of you are discovering that your kids really are flourishing with your time at home. Some of you are discovering that you got a lot of work to do, and I'm not talking anything about curriculum. Welcome, welcome, because that's what this journey is all about. We are talking today, I'm talking so gratefully without a mask on. They did not require me to wear a mask to present to you today, and I'm so glad. I so miss smiling at people, and I miss seeing other people smile back. One of the things, though, that I think has been so powerful about COVID-19 for all of us is we've been forced back home. And I believe it has not been by accident. I believe it has been because we need to do work in our own hearts and our own homes. So I want to challenge you. You may have heard me say this somewhere else. I want to challenge you. Don't let this time slip away and not do the hard things. Don't so long to get back to normal that you miss this moment. It's ticking. I know that God has revealed some really ugly things in my heart and some really tough issues we've needed to face in our home. It's an ongoing process. This journey, this process is not done until the Lord returns. And so until then, let's make really good use of our time. Our text for today actually comes straight out of the book of Nehemiah, which is near the end of the biblical narrative. Nehemiah was a cupbearer to the king when he had the desire to go back and rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Nehemiah journeys back. I hope you'll take the time to read the story in your Bible. He journeys back and he finds the walls of Jerusalem in gross disrepair. And he talks to those who have returned about how they need to repair the walls of Jerusalem. And he encourages them because they have enemies. Remember this part of the story? There are actually people who come and try to stop them from rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. I hope that even not too far into the story, you're already hearing the parallels to what it's like to start or continue your homeschooling journey. Because some of you caught a vision for what this looks like, to come home and rebuild the walls of home, rebuild those relationships, initiate those relationships, strengthen those relationships. But I'm here to tell you, as good and pure and beautiful as a vision as that is, you're going to have enemies. You're going to have people who say it can't be done. You're going to have people who say it shouldn't be done. You're going to have people who are saying it's poorly done. But I want to encourage you to keep on keeping on. That's what Nehemiah did to the people. They were under attack and they became at one point challenged to build the wall, to rebuild the wall with a trowel in one hand and a sword in the other. Do you get that picture? An instrument of building in one hand, an instrument of protection in the other hand. The other thing that I think is fascinating about this story in the book of Nehemiah is how he organized the people for the rebuilding of the walls. He organized the people not by demographics. He didn't have all of the preschoolers over here, all the junior high kids over here, all the women over here, all the singles over here. That's not how Nehemiah organized the rebuilding of the wall of Jerusalem. Nehemiah organized the people into families. The family has always been the primary building block of culture and community. And I really believe that God, in this sovereign, providential pause that we have called the pandemic of COVID-19, has been an opportunity for us to get back to family, to do the hard things, to examine our own hearts. So easy to blame shift, so easy to put off, so easy to ignore. But in this moment, we've had an opportunity to actually be still and know and do some of those hard works. Face up to those issues, have those conversations, and walk in truth and grace. So Nehemiah has all of the people organized in their families, a trowel in one hand, a sword in the other, and then he has trumpet players positioned around the work site so as to sound the alarm if the attack comes. This is exactly what we need to be doing right now. We need to be focused on building the wall, building our families. And one of the ways that we get to build our families is academically, based on the relationship we have with God, based on the relationships we have with each other. Then we take full advantage of the educational opportunities that God offers us. Mom, Dad, if you're watching, I just want to tell you, you can do this. You can. It is not beyond you. You can do this, and I want to dare you to do this. It is not impossible. Scripture tells us over and over that nothing is impossible with God. And as you step out into this, into the great unknown, right, with more questions potentially than you've got answers, I get it. This is your moment to lean in and trust God. the people that came back with Nehemiah, to rebuild the wall, did it in record time. They rebuilt the wall. They did what couldn't be done in a record 52 days. 52 days. And his admonition to the people was, the joy of the Lord is your strength. Look, I remember when we were doing our early days of home education, and it just seemed completely overwhelming. The days just bled into one another. My exhaustion overwhelmed me. And I was trying to do it myself. I was trying to do it in my strength. And I know something that I think you probably know, but I want to encourage you not to fight. You can't do this on your own. You need him. And he has promised to walk you through. So I want to talk to you first about the joy of the Lord, getting to know who he is. And I've just got a short list of attributes of God. It's much longer than this, but I've just chosen what I believe to be some key ones that we can look at in our time together. I challenge you to go deeper, but here are just a few that I think really matter when we talk about the joy of the Lord. Because again, the joy of the Lord, the joy that you have every day is based on who he is, not on what's going on, not on the chaos, not on the insanity. You can have joy of the Lord solely based on who he is, no matter how hard the world is spinning around you, no matter how difficult your day is starting out to go. I can remember many years where I would have not had time to plan for the week, right? We had soccer games on Saturday, we had church on Sunday, we had Awana on Sunday night, and I didn't get to plan, and now it's Monday morning, and what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do, right? And those feelings of panic would well up in me. And often panic gives way to what? Grumpy. And grumpy often does what? Snaps. I don't want to be the grumpy, snappy mom, but I'm not always going to have everything going perfectly well. So what can I joy in when it's not going great? I can always joy in the Lord. So just a few attributes again. Number one, we're cut to the chase. We can find joy in the love of the Lord. The God is love. He is perfect love. He is a God who loves because we can know he loves us, right? First of all, by the gift of his son. He has led the way in what it looks like, right? To love sacrificially. Love is not love without sacrifice. We must learn to follow his example. For God so loved the world that what? He gave what? His only begotten son. His only. That's the sacrifice. He gave his only. We're asked to give our only. So many moms are like, I can't do that. I have a career. I want to chase my career. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to go out with my friends. I want to play tennis. I get it. He's asking you to give your only. I promise you, from someone who's been doing this for 25 years and who started out not wanting to, who started off just really ticked because I felt like I had no choice, right? But now to look back and see the blessing, the abundant blessing that God has done. Look, I feel like that little kid when Jesus had been preaching on the mountainside, right? And the disciples come to Jesus and they say, look, you need to send them away because they're hungry and we don't have enough to feed all of these people. I mean, there's like 5,000 men here. We don't have enough. And goodness, they're going to faint on the way home. You've got to send them away. And Jesus says to his disciples, what do you have? I love that. I love that. Go back and read it. Jesus says, what do you have? And they're like, initially, I think they're saying, I got nothing, right? They find a little kid whose mom packed him a lunch. 5 loaves and 2 fish. That's the equivalent of nothing, right? If you're thinking about 5,000 men, not counting women and children, right? And he says, have the people sit down. Have them sit down. And the disciples are scratching their head. They're like, no, we didn't say have them sit down, Jesus. We said send them away. I get the initial sounds the same. Sit. And Jesus takes and breaks and blesses the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and he feeds the masses. He feeds the masses. He took what they had and he broke it and he gave it to them, and it multiplied. Love is sacrificial. That little boy gave up his lunch not knowing what was going to happen. He didn't know that he was going to be part of this amazing miracle. He didn't know. He didn't know. Love brings what it has and gives it to God. Look, God's not asking you to give any more to this homeschooling journey, this adventure, this fall, your kids, your family. He's not asking you for any more than all that you have. He knows. He knows. He made you. He knows what you have to bring. And he's saying, bring it to me. Bring it to me. Trust me with it. Follow my example with love. Give your only. Give your only. Next, you can joy in the protection of the Lord. When we first started homeschooling, we had lots of critics. Some of them we were related to. Some of them were perfect strangers. They were neighbors. They were people we attended church with. Look, you are making a radical decision. Even in the midst of crazy times, there are going to be people who are going to say, have you lost your mind? The initial answer to that could be yes. But you're stepping out. You're taking your first few steps out on a journey of faith. I love what Chuck Swindoll said a long time ago, and I don't know if I'm going to get exactly the way he said it, but he said, when you come to a fork in the road, and lots of you are at a fork in the road. When you come to a fork in the road, consider taking the path that would require more faith. This path of home education, in a lot of ways, takes more faith, right? Because the institutional school, whether public or private, right, is all laid out, right? Is all laid out. Their curriculum's all laid out. Those are professionals, right? They might be professionals, but they're not parents. They can't ever love your children the way you love your children, or care for them, or invest in them the way that you will. When you step out in faith, you step in to the shadow of his wing. You step in to his shelter. He is your shield. Every step of faith is protected by God. Now, does that mean you won't hear tacky comments? Can't guarantee you that. Can't guarantee you that. But I can promise you that they will not be lethal, that you will have his protection, and you will know his peace because you're walking by faith, not because you've got it all figured out. Not because it makes sense, but that you're following him. You're choosing to disciple your family. You're choosing to do the hard things. You're choosing to walk by faith. Next, his faithfulness. You can joy in his faithfulness. When we began our journey 25 years ago, I felt like I had stepped into a void. I knew a couple of people who homeschooled their kids. I called a couple of people who were homeschooling, but I felt so alone. I lost friendships when we first started homeschooling. I had people that I didn't get to talk to again. I had a circle of friends, right? And we had all done the school education thing together, and now I wasn't. But I just want you to know that as you step into this, he is faithful. He is not going to forsake you. He sees you right there on the premises trying to decide about taking this step, and he's your number one fan. He is saying, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. You can trust me, you can trust me, you can trust me. He's asking you to step out in faith and trust him. Do you trust him? I love the movie Aladdin when he's on the magic carpet, you remember? And she's just, her eyes are bug-eyed. She's looking at him. I mean, this is a magic carpet, right? And she's kind of, what's going on? And he extends his hand and he says, Do you trust me? Look, it's easy to trust things that we can see, understand, and explain. And there's a lot of this that we can't see, understand, or explain, but we can trust him. He is worth our trust. He is faithful. He will not let you down. Will it be hard? You bet it will. Will you mess up? I'm sure you will. I do. But he is faithful. Every step of the way, you can count on him. You are not alone. He's inviting you to trust him. Next, he is sovereign. He's over all things. Look, nothing surprises God. Nothing. Not COVID-19. Nothing. He's not surprised by this moment. Dare I say, he's orchestrated it for our good. He's allowed this to happen, to call us closer to himself. He's drawing us to himself. He's asking us, do we trust him? He's asking us to step out in faith. Two things I know about God's sovereignty. Like I just said, nothing surprises him. He's over all things. But secondly, nothing is wasted by him. As you step out on this journey, you're not going to do it perfectly. You're going to mess up. You're going to be impatient. You're not going to know where to find your lesson plan book, much less your curriculum, right? And your house is going to be a wreck. That's what it looks like to start. It's not insta-fix. It's going to be a process. And as you lean into him and learn of him and trust him that he has a plan and that he's at work constantly, then you will get to see the glory of his sovereignty. He is the master weaver who weaves it all together for his glory and our good. Finally, his mercy. We can joy in his mercy, in his forgiveness, Christ's death, burial, and resurrection, our sin debt paid. That is his mercy, and we can joy in it. It says his mercies are new every morning in Lamentation. Every morning. You can't run out. You can't use up God's mercy. It's not possible. It's not possible. It is new every morning. As we seek him, as we worship him, every day we have an opportunity to be grateful again for the forgiveness that he's given us, for making it possible for us to be reconciled, for giving us the peace that passes all understanding. These are things that we joy in. These are things that we can rest in. Finally, I said it that I was done prematurely. We can joy in his grace. This is not our home. We have an eternal home. We have the assurance of knowing that one day we're reunited in a perfect place with all of the saints. All of us will get to spend eternity together just rejoicing in all that he's done. When we get home, we get to see how it's all worked together for his good. And we will spend eternity sharing stories about all the good things that he did and all the blessings that he gave us. So when do we need this strength? That's kind of a rhetorical question, right? Because I can think of several times already today that I've needed his strength. We need his strength, first of all, just moment to moment, day by day. Now, before I chase this one too far, I just want to say that there was a time in my life when I felt like I was pretty good at doing this on my own. I got it, right? And I think I could have continued down that path of I've got it, had not God interrupted my life and brought me to a crossroads that made homeschooling the seemingly only option that we had. And now I can see how much I need him. How much I need him. And that's a really good thing. Our needing, our depending on him, that is where he wants us to stay. Not because we are completely inept, but because we're doing it in concert with him. He's giving us the talents. He's giving us the strength. He's giving us the peace and the patience. Day by day, moment by moment. As we're worshiping and rejoicing in him, he's filling us and giving us the strength over and over and over. In 2 Corinthians, you're probably familiar with this passage, chapter 12. Paul is talking about a thorn in the flesh. something that is just in his life driving him crazy. And there's been a lot of scholarly debate over what this is. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter what it is. You can fill in that blank with whatever the thorn is in your life. Whatever it is at the top of your thing, that if you could change something, that would be the big thing you would change. That's what Paul is talking about here in chapter 12 of 2 Corinthians. And he talks about how he has begged God, remove it, remove it, remove it. Some of you may have been begging God, please, if there's anything but homeschooling, right? Just please don't make me homeschool. At least not another year, right? Please don't do this. And yet, as things continue on, it becomes clear that God's really saying, do you trust me? And he's really asking you, and he's drawing you, maybe through this video today, maybe through one of the previous ones today. He's saying, do you trust me? I want to dare you. Don't ignore his invitation to participate in what he's doing. Imagine you're one of the disciples, and Jesus is saying, have the people sit down. Look, it's an ongoing invitation to participate in what only he can do. Only he can do this. Paul writes here in 2 Corinthians that he said he implored the Lord 3 times that this thorn in the flesh, whatever you would say that is, would leave him. But he says, the Lord said to me, my grace is sufficient, for power is perfected in weakness. Paul continues, most gladly, therefore, I would rather boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. I am well content in weakness, with insults, distresses, with persecutions and difficulties, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, I am strong. I am strong. Those weak points in the day, those challenges, those unexpected issues, those unplanned interruptions, those losses, hurts, woundings, all of that, he says here, his strength, his grace is sufficient for every single one of them. Every single one of them. Whatever you would fill in that blank, his grace is sufficient. Mom, what I want to dare you to do in pursuit of the joy of the Lord, focus up. Focus up. It's easy for us to get distracted with all the myriad of things we've got to figure out. I get that. And we will get to that. But we need to get to that, whether it's the daily rhythm or schedule or curriculum or whatever it is for this fall. We do that after we focused up. After we've chosen to worship him, after we have embraced the joy of the Lord. Look, there is a resonant, echoing silence across the world right now. As churches are not meeting together, and those who are, many are not participating in worship, we need to lift up our songs, our voices in worship. Worship him who alone is worthy. Worship him who is able. Our strength, our weakness is made perfect in his strength. His grace is sufficient. I implore you to lean in to the joy of the Lord. I've got a couple of great resources for you today, especially if you're new. I love this that Apologia has developed. By the way, P.S. I am not just coincidentally share the last name of Davis Carmen, who spoke earlier today. That is my husband. And at Apologia, we have a brand new resource for you. It's a curriculum planning guide and a welcome home ebook. And you can get both of those at apologia.com. I think there's a link here somewhere, and make sure you pick those up. I also have a Facebook page and a web page, rachaelcarmen.com or Rachael Carmen on Facebook. Some of you may find yourself really reeling at these choices because you have one of those kids or that child. I really have a heart for that child, and I have a whole series over on my Facebook page and on YouTube about that. A lot of other ones on building a foundation, studying scripture, prayer. We want to help you do this well, whether you've been doing it for 20 years or you haven't even started yet. We want to be here to help and encourage you. God is faithful. Step out on this journey and He will bless you.